Right. We should be
Are we
live.
live?
Yeah, I think so. I think I have like 20 seconds of black screen before we actually start, but it's okay. It's always a mess with those panels in YouTube to do a live and really hit it
It's
on the spot.
always something, right?
Yeah, always something. So welcome everyone. This is Threat Researchers Live episode 25 already, September 29, 2022. The second one for September, so the last one was in September, but the 1st of September. But now we're back on brand. We are on the last Thursday of the month, and we are back with the news referring to everything good and bad, well, mostly bad, that happened in September of this year.
Mostly, mostly bad. So not a lot of positive wins for us.
Yeah. Well, we're here to cover the doom and gloom. The disclaimer, as usual, counting down from 3, 2, 1, go.
And we're live with DDoS in 2022. I absolutely love this meme that I had to include it. I know that there's a lot of snark out there in the community about DDoS and still being relevant in 2022, but guess what? It's going to be relevant in 2032 as well. So, uh, yeah, this
Yeah.
is an actual depiction of Pascal and I on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's a picture of our new podcast coming up soon, right?
Yep, exactly. Totally fixed the Rick and Morty world.
Yeah, Back to the Future. Retro is
Hmm
in.
Exactly.
So our agenda for today, and we have quite a lot of things to talk about, but some of the breaking news, well, breaking that came out yesterday in Australia, the Optus breach. Gonna touch on that. What happened there? How did it happen actually? That's the most interesting part of it. Info stealers, which seems to be the main topic across this month. When you look at the several hacks and the topics that we're talking about, info stealers are coming back everywhere. And Daniel will show us also some darknet marketplaces where it's interesting to do your shopping, I would say. If you want to know if your company was part of a breach, that's probably the best place to start. But we're gonna start out with Killnet versus Japan. We're gonna talk about No Name 05716, which are the legions in the Cyberwar. Also gonna talk about Russia preparing some mass cyber attacks, some intelligence that comes to us from the Ukrainian secret services. Also an article about the GRU, the rise of the Telegram minions. Quite funny, quite good.
Yeah,
Uh, on
it's a good one.
on the point. I like the headline. It's very much telling, and it's actually what it is. Telegram minions. Anonymous new operation on OpIran after the girl that was killed because of not wearing her how it's called this burqa correctly. US bought access to 90% of the world's internet traffic. A little bit blown out of proportion, maybe the title, but I think it will make for some interesting information. A motion to make DDoS legal, not really an official motion, but anyway, somebody is thinking about using DDoS for fighting crime. Um, and it might be interesting. Uh, we always said it. DDoS is not a crime.
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting how this is going to play out in the next few
Yeah.
months.
So those are the double standards that were actually set from the cyber war. People starting to doing DDoS attacks, feeling that it's morally acceptable to perform them as long as you're hitting a bad target or at least something that you see as a bad target. Well, yeah, that continues, and we said it a couple of months ago. It will be hard to double down on those double standards that we created. Nobody from the
Yeah,
government intervened before, so
it's
let
gonna be
loose.
hard to walk that back.
Yeah, let loose and see what happens. Interesting times coming for the internet, that's for sure.
Hmm
Talk about China, their attribution of the NSA TAO attacks, and also, yeah, the funny one, banning Teslas at the government facilities. But we will get back to that. Teslas are probably good spying machines, right? With all those cameras.
Oh yeah, I mean they catch everything.
And where do those images go? I assume that Tesla does a lot of cloud computing for their cameras, so might go to the cloud. So for once, it's not the China's cloud. For once, it might go up to the Western cloud. Moobot and Chaos Botnet, two new botnets that were found and that were worth mentioning. DDoS attacks on Blizzard, but also in the same gaming, some other hacks. Again, info stealing on 2K games. Then there was related, so in the same from the same house, Rockstar Games also had a hack, and then the Uber hack. Probably not related to the 2K games hacks, but Rockstar and Uber clearly some relation. ISG hack, Teapot versus TP. We will come back what we mean by that. Credential stuffing, surpassing legitimate logins. So yeah, besides info stealing, there's still the credential stuffing going on, and more often we see that happening. We saw it come up during Corona, people doing credential stuffing more often with ransomware, then gaining traction, and the initial access brokers looking to get some good money. Well, that's where you get the credential stuffing. That now is most of what you see during on your VPN login screen. So be prepared.
Are we gonna actually show everybody my tattoo?
Yeah. You're gonna have to. I'm sorry about that, but pictures will not do. Only live.
I'm still waiting for my money.
You too. Damn. I'm not the only one waiting then. Good. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
They got you too.
Yeah.
I'm sure no somebody on the other side of the live stream is thinking, yeah, they got me too.
We definitely got some good LockBit drama to get into.
Yeah, enough
Might be
of
familiar with it, but it's good stuff.
it is. Yeah, and the same ransomware drama, ransomware gangs that's getting DDoSed again. Uh, Vice Society going after education. The Seesaw Hack stays in the education sphere. Interesting one, funny one,
Hmm.
prank or not. We have
Oh, yeah.
another prank for an airplane intercom hack um, that we will also talk about. Then the back to school swatting, cryptocurrency. Yeah, of course, we need to have the software supply chain drama every month. So NPM packages that were compromised with, surprise, surprise, info stealer. And then some unauthenticated Redis instances that are exposed on the internet, and that somebody is trying or was trying to abuse for crypto mining. Seems that crypto is not gone, even though that they're on an all-time low and cryptocurrency has crashed as far as I hear everyone. Still, people are interested in doing cryptocurrency.
Criminals are hodl. We know that now. They're holding long.
So before we go into all that juicy detail, first a word to where you can find us. So, of course, we have our live video streams that are recorded on YouTube, so they stay there. The first URL, so the tiny URL for Red Red Threat Researchers Live, gets you to that playlist if you want to go through past episodes, binge watch them over the weekend. You will need a long weekend, by the way, but you can binge watch them. Our Twitter account, if you have anything to say, to report, if you have comments, Redware Research, you can find us there on Twitter. You can find us on Telegram in the Redware Research chat. We also have a newsletter that comes out monthly and that will go out shortly after this episode. That's also linking up to some of the most notable news of this month. So a little bit in parallel with the live stream, but in a newsletter format and on Pastebin, and also through the direct link below here with Pastebin Redware Research. There you will find all the links and references and resources relating to what we're talking about. So if you want to get more information on anything that's coming up here and we didn't tell you the full story and you want to learn more, you can always go to Pastebin, find the URL and go find all the resources and links through there. Now a
So
message
then,
from our sponsor.
yeah, I've been saying in a couple hours I get to interview Victor Zohar from the SSSCIP in Ukraine. Should be interesting. We're going to talk about a couple of different lessons learned from Ukraine and what they're planning for the future. A little discussion about UA30, and I think it's going to be a great interview. To be honest, Pascal, I think a lot of people are going to take away some
Oh yeah,
good information from this.
absolutely. Yeah, Victor is actually he's a one of a kind person.
Yeah.
He's living the cyber war. He has the feet on the ground there, so Ukraine was already very much experienced in what nation state actors could throw at a country. They were the testing grounds of Russia. We've been saying that like forever. But now being in that war and seeing all those attacks, Victor is the person who lived them and also who is preparing his country for the next decade to get ready for whatever cyber offense or defense that there might come in the future. So I think it will be a really interesting discussion.
Yeah, definitely. And also after the interview, Eva from Radware is also going to be discussing, how the Radware ERT helps defend Ukraine from some of these attacks during the war. So all in
Yeah.
all, it's going to be a really good segment for sure.
Yeah, so that will be on October 6th. So there's a link when you go down in the comments, you will find the first link is the link to register for that webinar. Make sure that you register. I don't know if they do any reruns. I think this will be a one-off. Victor is a very busy person, so you won't find him that easily talking about those topics. So it's a unique chance. Join us.
Definitely.
So that was a message from our sponsor. Finally, I got to do it. I see everybody on YouTube doing. And now for our sponsor for today. So today's sponsor, boys and girls, it's Radware. If you didn't know, that's our sponsor for today, and probably for next month also. For the
Radware, every second counts, or every
yeah.
second matters. I'm sorry.
All right, starting into the topics for today. Enough fun. Let's go with the doom and gloom. Japan websites hit by cyber attacks, and yeah, you can already you already see the name. Those who are familiar with us, we always start with the cyber war drama and the legions. This is about Killnet. Killnet went after Japan, and the motivation for going after Japan is because Russia terminated an agreement with Japan. So there was an agreement that Japan citizens had facilitated visits to the islands of what is it, Kunashir, Hiturup, and the Lesser Kuril Ridge. So that means that they could go there without any visa requirements. And I believe that those are Russian military bases, or there's some military from Russia on those islands. So Russia terminated that agreement. That's not the reason why Killnet attacked, of course. The reason is that Japan sent a strong protest to Russia about that decision to terminate that agreement. And also the foreign minister, Yoshimasa Hayashi, yeah, called Moscow's decision absolutely unfounded and unacceptable. So that got to the ears of Killnet, and Killnet decided to go after Japan for a couple of days. So on the 7th of September, I believe in the afternoon for Japan time, they started targeting several organizations and also 20 different websites across 4 government ministries. The e-government administrative portal, for example, kept experiencing login problems to some of the services, so there was an impact by their attack. Here are some of the victims that were listed on Killnet Telegram as the attacks were going on. So first of all, they went after the Japan Credit Bureau, which is basically the national payment system with the credit card company behind it. They also went after Mixi. Mixi is it's the Facebook of Japan. It's actually the second biggest after Facebook. Oh no, the first biggest after Facebook, I have to say. The second biggest social networking website in the world. So you can imagine those were impacted. And the messages also said it. Let's go after those websites and let's make those Japan people cry. And I'm just transliterately transliterating, not putting it as hard as they put it. The tax portal was impacted. The website of the city of Nagoya, the Tokyo Metro official website, and also the Osaka subway, and also Nico Nico Duga. I hope I say that correctly. But that's like the YouTube, I guess, of Japan. So it's a video sharing website where people can put comments and those comments pop up. So I think it's like a crossing between TikTok and YouTube. Not that I know what TikTok is or does, but that's what they tell me. Um, Kill Milk was also, yeah, in that drama, you know that Kill Milk is coming more and more of not a fashion statement, but a media addicted. He wants himself out there in every interview. He wants to profile himself as much as possible as the savior of Russia and the leader of the Russian cyber armies, whatever. But this time he referred to himself as the Cyber Samurai, and he was signing his messages with Cyber Samurai has no goal, only a path. So yeah, the drama and the
It's
comedy.
so serious.
Yeah.
Killnet is just entertaining.
Entertaining, but at the same time still impacting websites. So I read a comment from a researcher that said, "Oh yeah, it's all drama. There's nothing to fear about. They're just a bunch of like script kiddies playing around." No, that's not true. There have been enough impact across different nations and across different countries to take that threat of Killnet serious. So if you are targeted by Killnet, take it serious. Don't think that it will blow over and nothing will happen. We have seen so many countries being impacted by them. There is a reason that they make the news. It's not because they just do interviews. It's because they really impacted some governments. So the second day of the campaign, when Killnet woke up, I saw these messages come in as he woke up. So apparently he was attacking the Japanese site called Channel 5, 5CH. I believe this is like the 4chan of Japan, but a little bit more cultivated, with more nicer opinions. But apparently the Japanese really like that, and he said that 70% of the Japanese people will begin to throw themselves out of windows if they cannot access that website today. There was also a lot of coverage on the news in Japan. You see a picture on the right where Japanese anchors from the news are explaining what a DDoS attack is. So explaining to the people, this is what DDoS is. So as we said, and your meme in the beginning came in very well. But yeah, DDoS attacks are here, and I think that even now, more than any time before, people are aware of what DDoS attacks are, and people can do DDoS attacks because this cyber war, and I think we can call it a cyber war, has democratized DDoS attacks. Everybody can do a DDoS attack. There's so much information out there now. Everybody knows enough to just power up or download some script or do something on his phone and perform DDoS attacks, or go out there, rent a booter and stressor service and do some DDoS attacks. And now even morally, they're not stopped anymore because they see that, okay, if it's morally acceptable, I can do a DDoS attack and I can get away with it because so many people did it to attack Russia. Um, so why can I not attack my bank because I believe that they did me wrong. It's morally acceptable because they wronged me. So I want to protest, and my form of protest, or the next years or a couple of years from now, the new cyber protest will be DDoS attacks. Now, relating to Killnet, while I was browsing through, well, browsing, hard to say. How do you call it again? Not drama surfing, but how do you call it on Twitter when you lose yourself in Twitter? There's
Oh, I just call it going down a rabbit hole, man.
yeah, basically that was it.
Yeah,
So
I mean, going down a rabbit hole in the middle of a tweet storm, you can really, really kind of find a lot of different things that you normally would not see on your timeline.
so Killnet, I came across this one channel, and that's an OSINT, so an open source intelligence bot that Killnet put online. And basically what it does is a Telegram channel. You go to that channel, you activate it, you put in a name of a person, an individual, and in the backend there will be some scripts running and some information gathering, and they will gather all information they can find from open source sources, like social media and forums, etc. And all that information is then packaged up and comes back in your Telegram channel when he's ready. So it's It's a completely operational tool where you can research people. I did not try to research. Still was a little bit scared of actually going for it, especially not putting my own name in there. But it might be interesting to know what exactly they can do. This is certainly something that can help them in their campaigns, because sometimes they go after the people who were doxing Russian people or who were specifically attacking some Telegram's channels. They also mentioned that they want to attack because they were going against Russian people. So remains to be seen how useful it is. But Daniel,
Yeah, so on the other side of pro-Russian hacking, there's a group called No Name 05716. I sometimes leave that 16 out; it gets a little confusing. But it's a group that's known for launching DDoS attacks specifically against government agencies, news agencies, army suppliers, telecom, financial institutions, pretty much anybody that's supporting the Ukrainian movement. So they're not really attacking Ukraine directly. They're more or less focusing on those external that are supporting Ukraine, somewhat similar to Killnet. They've targeted Estonia, Lithuania, Norway, and Poland. The interesting thing here is that AVAS has published a report showing that the group is using the Bobic rat to drop RedLine Stealer, which is an information stealer mainly used to harvest credential access for initial access, is now also dropping a DDoS module. So this is actually how the group is running their attacks. They're actually running a botnet that is distributed via an information stealer. So I figured this would be kind of a good story to bring up, because you're going to see that there's a continuous theme of credential access and Redline and Raccoon through this whole month.
yeah, remember that name Redline if you watch us from beginning to the end. It will come back
A
quite
few
often.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other side of hacking. Uh-oh.
Do you have control? Yeah.
There.
Good.
Yeah, there we go. A few of you probably saw this. It's one of the
Yeah,
more hilarious
that was a
moments.
yeah.
Last month we were talking about how the Ukrainians took over IP cameras in Russia to play Ukrainian national anthem on their Independence Day, which was really hilarious from a hacktivist point of view. They decided to double down and to outdo themselves, and a hacker created a traffic jam in Moscow by sending Yandex taxi cabs to the Phila. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, a specific
Really,
district in
yeah.
Moscow, and it was pretty interesting. If you're on Twitter looking at the video of it, this taxi cab driver is just driving down the street, showing what appears to be hundreds of taxi cabs waiting to pick up someone in a certain district that was never there. Pretty funny. I mean,
Yeah.
not
Mission
so funny if you're a
Impossible
taxi cab.
vibes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not so funny if you're a taxi cab driver
Yeah.
and short on gas and all the other energy crisis issues going on. Probably a frustrating moment for them, but for the rest of the world, this is a non-violent hack that is pretty hilarious, if you ask me.
Yeah, after that, Yandex said that they tuned their algorithms to make sure that it doesn't happen, that not too many taxis are being called to the same spot. They already had
So
those detection algorithms to find fake requests, but apparently this one slipped through, so well done.
so they rate limiting taxi cabs now in Moscow.
Yeah, as if they need to. The speed you go. Although now during the war, now Moscow's empty apparently, but before Moscow is such a busy city, you can get nowhere. To go from the airport to Moscow City, it can easily take you 3 to 4 hours, and it's normally
Yeah,
like
that's why I hear like Moscow is like one of
30.
the worst places in the world for traffic jams. So
It isn't
uh,
anymore. And
yeah, well, I guess I shouldn't laugh, but yeah, after a
yeah.
draft, you definitely gotta learn a lot of people. Sorry, I
People
sent
people stay
10.
inside. They don't want to show themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So this is another interesting report that came out. It's a white paper done by a bunch of researchers from universities. So it was Cambridge, Eldenburg. I don't know how to pronounce the middle one. Anyways, the white paper was published, "Getting Bored of Cyber Attacks," and this is something that we've talked about on a few TRLs about what is the true impact of the DDoS attacks during the current cyber war. And I think we all can admit that there's massive impacts. I wouldn't go so far to say they're minor impacts. They would be minor in comparison in two different ways, right? So if you look at this chart below that the researchers published, you can see that the majority of the large attacks began in that first quarter of the year, right when the Russian-Ukrainian conflict began. But as things moved on, they tapered off. So you lost a lot of the larger scale DDoSs that were targeting Russia and Ukraine, and you started to have that little tail there. I wouldn't say it's a long tail, but it's a tail of attacks that
Yeah,
are continuing. So
we have to be careful with that data because I read the report last night and it got some merit, but it's not the full picture. So first of all,
right,
when you look at the defacements they scraped from the defacement archive sites. So and every time that some defacer had a successful defacement, you know, they want to claim their trophy, they go to one of those verification websites, a defacement archive, where they put the image, or better way, they put the link, their name, their battle tag, and then that site will either automatically or by moderators be verified. And then when it's verified, it comes up, okay, that's a verified defacement. So that's how they get the credit for defacement. So the attacks, that's just the defacements, right? And that's only the ones that were registered. I'm pretty sure there's many defacements out there from those Telegram groups that were never registered. So it's a part of it. Secondly,
right. I mean,
the DDoS attacks, because we were talking about this, Daniel, yesterday, but those DDoS attacks also, how do they get to those DDoS attack data? Now, here is where I have a real problem with their chart, is that the DDoS attack information comes from honeypots. Honeypots that are exposing UDP services that can be abused for amplification. So they are tracking UDP amplification attacks, which match whenever a nation state would do an attack and use UDP amplification, or a serious attacker would do it, or they would leverage a boot or stressor service that is using one of those honeypots as an amplifier. But what we are missing in this picture is what we have been talking about mostly this year, is the hacktivists. So they are saying that they are cross correlating that information of DDoS attack with hacktivism. It is not true. It's not the activists are not using DDoS amplification for the attacks. Activists are using the tools that the IT army of Ukraine is putting out there, and also the tools that other people are putting out, which are scripts that are using layer 7 HTTPS attacks. It's just layer 7 HTTP GET. It has nothing to do with amplification. So whatever data they're showing here, it's a good information source to know who is leveraging larger DDoS attack tools that leverage amplification for volumetric attacks against Russia and against Ukraine, but it doesn't show the picture of the hacktivists who are using all those tools to perform HTTP attacks. So that I don't agree with, not fully. Yeah,
so
sorry I'm sorry to drop this on you live, Daniel. I didn't have time to talk to you about this, but I read the article end to end last
No,
night,
I
went
mean
through it
it's
completely.
fine.
Yeah,
I think that most of the people in the industry though can agree that the DDoS attacks have dropped off in the second
yeah,
quarter, and that was
absolutely.
more or less my larger point. Is that when comparing the first wave of attacks to the second wave of attacks, you can clearly see through these people's report that there has been a drop off in the
Yeah,
second quarter. It's something that we've talked about. We've seen other companies have seen the same thing, and it's something that we've talked about many times also on TRL. Is how long can a hacktivist launch a DDoS attack for before the dopamine and the high wears off? And it's about 3 months. After about 3 months of launching DDoS attacks, you want to, of course, start repurposing and re-engaging through higher techniques. And
yeah,
that was something interesting that had come up through Google Tag, as Google Tag was talking about how former Conti threat actors were actually joining UAC 0098, which is an anti-Ukrainian hacktivist group. They are delivering ICE ID, which is another form of information stealer like RedLine, to follow up with human operated ransomware attacks. And this just kind of goes to show what we were talking about the last slide, is that DDoS attacks have such an effect to a certain point, and you need to have constant people coming into hacktivist groups in order to maintain that longevity, right? After a certain point, you're going to want to start retooling and repurposing your
yeah.
techniques to have more of an impact, right?
Yeah.
And
So
that was kind of like,
yeah, sorry. So
go ahead.
the
No, go
headline
ahead.
the headline of the report is still very much valid, and we do agree with that headline. That's also the reason why we read the report. So, but what they also were showing, and that's for me is much more of an indicator, is the engagement in the Telegram channels of the different hacktivist groups. So they counted how much messages there are, but they also counted the number of replies and emojis and so on, and they saw that it was really backing off and going down as the months were progressing. So people, as they said in the title, getting bored of the cyber war.
Well, it's also like that same they're getting bored is correct, but also at the same time they're retooling, right? Just like we're saying here, Conti is repurposing their attack vector to go be pro-Russian. I think that most DDoSers, after 3 months launching DDoS attacks, are going to learn other techniques. It's not that they're leaving the threat landscape; it's just they're changing their tactics, techniques, and procedures to be more impactful. So, as cyber war progresses, you can expect to see an escalation and attacks. And that's exactly also what is coming out of Ukraine right now, is that they are warning that Russia is preparing for a massive cyber attack. So, back to 2 slides ago, we saw a huge peak at the first quarter, and it's slowly tapering off. Now we're wondering if there's going to be a second wave to these cyber attacks. And right now, Ukraine is out there saying, at the moment, they're warning that the Kremlin is preparing to carry out mass cyber attacks on critical infrastructure in Ukraine, which they've pretty much been at a fail at so far for the first part of the war. I mean, I wouldn't say complete failure. I'd say Ukraine was much more prepared to deal with cyber attacks than Russia assumed they were going to be. There were certain attacks that happened, but the swiftness of the CC or SSS-CIP enabled to translate and also distinguish, move information down the line to people that need to know. They were able to prepare for wiper and ransomware attacks, more attacks on critical infrastructure. So kind of
Yeah,
hoping that they're just as
yeah. What
prepared for
stayed
this next one.
Yeah, what stayed out is more the NSA and the CIA reports where they were saying that there is a risk of critical infrastructure in the US being targeted by Russian attackers. That's the one that we saw less of. But that might still come, especially now with the second wave, as Russia is, well, I could not say regrouping, but as they are licking their wounds and trying to get a second breath to go at war. That might be part of it. When they cannot win on the field, they might be able to get some progress on the
Exactly.
cyber front. So, and they have a good cyber army. They are fearful.
Yeah, that's the thing that's always got me about this war, is that Russia has shown that they are not the strong enemy that we thought they were for the last few decades. But that's from a physical perspective. They are very strong when it comes down to cyber. I think a lot of people in the industry are wondering why we're not seeing these massive attacks. And I think that also goes to Ukraine's defense, is that they were very well prepared. They've learned a lot of lessons over the last 10 years
Yeah.
about how Russia is going to attack their electrical supply and other critical infrastructure. And this is something that I'm going to get into the interview later on today with
Mhm.
Victor, where we're actually talk about the lessons that Ukraine learned in the prior decade to the war and how that benefited them in mitigating attacks.
Yeah, it's also something that we don't see in the Western world. So people might ask themselves, yeah, but it stayed out in the Western world, and Russia has been very careful to not being linked to any attacks that impacted countries outside of Ukraine. So the military operations were targeting Ukraine, not outside, because one once we can attribute or somebody can attribute an attack to the Russian government on a non-Ukrainian facility or country, it will be full out war. That's a motion to go to war with the rest of the Western world, and I don't think that they're ready for that.
Oh, we'll find out what's going on over in the Baltic states.
Yeah,
A lot of drama this week.
yeah. Well, they so that's also what the Ministry of Defense said. It's they also expect an increase in DDoS attacks. So for the Ukrainian defense, so for the Ukrainian electricity supply, they attack more surgical strikes and even physical strikes on the electricity supply. While outside of Ukraine, they expect more DDoS attacks, which would be the minions, the Telegram minions that Mandiant is referring to. So the hacktivists like Killnet that will go after those targets, and those will be mostly DDoS attacks because Killnet they tried non-DDoS attack. They tried to do breaching and leaking, but they were not that successful, if you ask me. Their
Yeah.
their bread and butter is still DDoS. Hacknet is different.
Yeah, so progressing on, as we all know, Russia at the current moment is mobilizing. They have what we call in the United States a draft, where I think it was like between 250,000 and 1,000,000 people that they're carrying up. So there's been a lot of conversation about, what are these people going to be deployed and what are they going to be doing? Victor brought up an interesting point: is when will we start seeing skilled conscripts joining the Russian cyber offensive? If they are drafting people into the services, and are they just cannon fodder? Are they going to the field, or are they actually going through who they're drafting and understanding that there's some people that have cyber skill and some people that have kinetic skill? And so a little bit of foreshadowing, I would say, about what the threat landscape might look like in the second half of the year. Even Dimitri over from CrowdStrike was talking about when Wagner PMC is going to be able to have their own cyber force, which is kind of a scary conversation to get into. Is like, when are these private military contractors and when are the Russian government going to start drafting cyber talent? And I don't think a lot of people want to think about that, but at the end of the day, it might actually already be going on. I love this meme from John over at Mandiant. Is what are you going to do? I'm going to hack and leak. And how are you going to do that? I'm just going to go like this. It's kind of true what we're seeing. We talk about Killnet, we talk about Hacksnet, and we talk about all these other pro-Russian hacktivist groups, and we ask ourselves, how connected to the state services are they? And that's where we get into the Telegram minions, the rise of GRU, which is really kind of funny because if you're a Minions fan, Gru, and yeah, ha 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 ha, it's a really good one. I actually enjoy it. But Mandiant put out a report stating that there's actually admins that are operating with Russia's military intelligence directorate, the GRU. So this would be Hacknet, this would be the Cyber Army of Russia, this would be Info Center. And this is where things really kind of begin to get interesting in the industry, is where we start talking about DDoS a little bit more, and how it's being leveraged by nation state actors, right? And so if you're kind of familiar with Russian state actors, there's APT28, and there's other interviews out there that talk about APT228, which is like a subgroup to APT28 that's more of the non-official members. So the question is now becoming, how much control does APT28 have over the direct cyber conflict, and how much indirect control do they have through their other subordinates? Going to be pretty interesting, though, in my opinion. My favorite word there, Pascal, is interesting.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Interesting times coming up.
Yeah, so we'll see how many state-sponsored hacktivists are actually out there. I used that word a few months ago. I was like, I don't know how on point this is, and now it's very on point. We do have state-sponsored hacktivists now. It's out in the open. We know
Yeah,
it. So
sponsored or controlled, because Killnet is still asking for donations. It's not like they might not be sponsored, but they might be controlled. There are other ways to put pressure on people, right?
yeah,
Especially when
blend in
you're
where
a
you fit
cyber
in.
criminal. Yeah.
But also, like, if you look at, like, the Chinese allow their ransomware state-sponsored actor, or their state-sponsored actors, to run ransomware campaigns after information exfiltration,
Yeah.
as a way to cover up and smokescreen. So, applying that to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, is a lot of these DDoS attacks might actually be
Yeah.
smokescreen attacks.
Yeah, but
So
that doesn't mean that they get paid for it. So the Chinese threat actors, they don't get paid for it, but they get financial they get it from the
it's
ransom.
financial
So
kickback, yeah, on the
yeah,
back end,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
it's a kickback. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So moving outside of the Russian-Ukrainian landscape into more of an anonymous. This is something that
Yeah.
we've been talking about constantly throughout this year: is the return of anonymous, the return of non-state sponsored hacktivists. Now we have to say that. um, but I think we're all familiar with what happened in Iran. There was a female that was murdered. There was tons of writing
Well,
that
killed.
happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, killed, murder, same thing. MDK, murder, death, kill. If anybody out there knows that reference, I'll
Yeah,
laugh.
that's been a long time ago, MDK. I played that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what movie that was actually. Now that
Oh,
I'm
it was
going
a
blank.
game. There was a game called MDK as well, but that's really a long time ago. You were probably
Yeah,
still a
it was
baby in diapers. Little Daniel.
This one had like Wesley Snipes, Sylvester Stallone, and
I didn't know it was a
Sandra
movie.
Bullock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of those Demolition Man. There we go. It was Demolition Man.
Uh,
It was about the future where they had to cryogenically unfreeze criminals or a cop slash criminal to chase after another criminal. It was in the future where no one harmed anybody. So when there was a kill, it was called Murder, Death, Kill (MDK) because they didn't know exactly what it was. But
yeah.
anyways, we digress.
Yeah.
In Iran, there was a murder or death, and everybody decided to start rioting and protesting over this, which is normal when someone is unjustifiably killed. The interesting thing about all this is the amount of activity that was done as far as censoring the internet. The Iranian government quickly began censoring social media platforms and outbound connections, basically as a way to censor images coming out from this protest. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
to
people that are
limit.
beaten.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want people around the world to understand how violent things were in Iran at the moment, which was
Propaganda.
actually kind of, yeah, it was crazy too, because at the same moment, there was a lot of protests happening in Russia. So you're going through the Twitter stream, seeing quite a bit of violence and protests. And it was, for me, it was interesting to see like what the difference was between Russia and Iran. So in Iran, they shut down all the internet, right? They were not allowing people to communicate. Russia didn't do that, which is something that we can talk about later. But Iran shut down the internet, so immediately you can see, like in the top right corner, the bridge users on the Tor network shot up. The Tor
Yeah.
network also put out the Snowflake project as a way to help Iranians access the internet outside of Iran. Also, Signal put up Signal proxies as a way
Yeah,
to,
that's the first time I believe, no? That's that
yeah,
they actually made a new development so that anyone who wants can support the people by installing a proxy on their PC and proxy the communication through their PC. And it's
yeah.
completely
Also,
safe, so it's end-to-end encrypted, so it's not like you can install a proxy and sniff all the communications on Signal. It's not like that.
and the U.S. government also I don't know exactly the terminology, but they relinquished, they moved back some of the sanctions they have against Iran as far as telecommunication goes. So in the middle of all this and the lockdown happened, the U.S. government made a move to try and open up the airways and channels for the Iranian people, which is a noble effort. That's a part of hacktivism that I always liked for the last 10 years is not being political, but being there to help the voiceless, right? To give a voice to the voiceless people is the most important part of hacktivism. And a lot of hacktivism gets lost in supporting political sides. I mean, Anonymous had the huge issue in 2016 where half of them supported Trump and half of them supported Hillary. That was disaster, right? This is what I like to see is hacktivism coming back from Anonymous and trying to give the voiceless a voice. And this
Yeah.
is really kind of important. Now, there's also a lot of attacks that happened too.
Uh-huh.
A couple compromises, right, Pascal?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, an interesting one. 300 CCTV cams that were hacked. So Anonymous claimed to have compromised over 300 different security cameras. It's not the first time that Anonymous claims a camera hack. In August, they had that prison where they breached, and they had access to the security cams of that prison in Tehran. So now they claim a hack with while exploiting a low severity score vulnerability. So it shows that it's still important to patch your cameras. They can be used for good and for bad. So in this case, Anonymous got in there, but last time was also the cameras from playing the Ukrainian anthem in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the prison of Tehran, where they actually got some real evidence that people were being mistreated. They also were able to get into the website of the Iranian Forensic Research Center, a government institution. So they were able to exfiltrate 100 megabytes of logs containing names, email, and IP addresses of people who were visiting the Forensic Research Center. So all the web logs were basically extracted from their website. Now, DDoS attacks, of course, as well. The national government portal of Iran was attacked. Central Bank of Iran, the website of the government spokesman office, website of Khamenei, Khamenei.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm starting to get
better
the
you than
Daniel
me.
vibe here.
Hey, it's the American vibe.
Yeah, the supreme leader of Iran. Yeah, if you can't say it, you can't target him.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, when you do "Hey Siri," target that person. I'd rather type it.
Yeah.
Bing, Ollie.
So, I mean, there's a lot of DDoS attacks that were launched because of this protest in Iran,
Yeah.
but it's not the only issue that Iran has been dealing with. In fact, the United States government has pointed the finger at Iran. Let's just go with that. The U.S. Treasury has sanctioned 10 of their IRGC affiliates. So these are state-sponsored attackers for their ransomware attacks. So this would be APT-35, also known as Charming Kitten. By other companies. They're targeting schools, hospitals, and transportation sector in the United States or in Iran, which was kind of in the United States, which is a bad thing. The CIA and FBI also attributed Iranian attacks against Albania. That's what I meant to say. Iran has also been launching attacks against Albania since July. Initial access actually happened 14 months prior to July. They've been exfiltrating data. There's been ransomware style attacks, and interesting enough, they had part of the attackers has social media presence called Homeland Justice, which is really kind of rare to see. I mean, you do see it, but it's not so often that you see state-sponsored actors running social media campaigns. I mean, Guccifer did with the Russians, but just interesting to note that Homeland Justice was a social media outlet for the Iranians. Do we have a question there, Pascal? Or
No,
someone
no,
saying
no.
hi?
It's
Hey,
Nexus. Yeah,
what's
it's
up,
Nexus.
Nexus? Hey, hey. So yeah, moving on to this next subject here, which is kind of interesting as
Yeah.
well. Um, Motherboard wrote this report, you know, talking about how multiple branches of the U.S. military had bought access to Pure Signal, which is a service product that's sold from Team Cyber. It's claiming that they cover over 90% of the world's internet traffic. So the reason why I want to talk about this is because, years ago we had this whole entire meltdown over Snowden and NSA data collection, all this other stuff. And now we're seeing reports that US military is actually buying the same kind of access from private contractors. Little bit of an NSO kind of scare here, but yeah, they're claiming they have 90% of the world's internet traffic. They're looking at emails, browser data, and cookies, which Pascal and I were talking about yesterday. Kind of implies that they are in the browser, or they might be buying stolen information that's for sale in some of these marketplaces that we'll show you later.
Or they're behind
They
info
claim,
stealers.
yeah, so 550 collection points, claiming over 100 billion new records a day. Wow.
Yeah,
So,
it's the second month in a row that we talk about those kind of companies that work in the gray zone. Last time we talked
yeah,
about the NSO and the competitors of NSO. Now we're talking about Team Simru. What's
is it
next?
Simru, Siren?
Yeah,
It's,
so,
We're
for the
gonna
Americans,
have to start calling all these
Simru.
companies before we do
Yeah.
TRL and asking, like, how do you pronounce your corporate name?
Yeah.
You got an American and a European on the phone.
No, I have a
We need
better
to know.
idea. Try some decent names that we can all read.
To each their own. But you might need to explain. Yeah. So, anyways, it's very interesting. As Pascal said, this is a common theme of the private contractors getting a little further deep into espionage and selling services to
It's
government
not that it
agencies.
didn't
That
exist before, but before it was never talked about, or not as much. Nicole Perlroth's book Perlroth's book is really good on that.
and to be honest, like, I personally would love to have 90% of the internet world traffic to research and
Oh
look
yeah.
through. So I'm not being a hater here. I just have to, like, talk about the stories and the news that we see. Me personally, if you want to give me a free copy
Yeah.
of Pure Signal Recon, I will take it, and I will
Yeah.
I will love you guys forever
With
for
this
it.
Team Simru, if you're listening here, if you want to be the sponsor of our next
Yeah,
episode, you give
we'll
Daniel
be
some
happy to look
access.
at your
Yeah,
telemetry.
yeah.
Yeah.
He can do a review. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so going on even further into, like, DDoS attacks and some funny news around DDoS attacks is the question that we've brought up many times: is DDoS a crime? And Hungarian Communication Association is definitely out there listening to my narrative, and they're going to push it.
Yeah.
They're suggesting the use of legal DDoS attacks against pirates. So it's their new anti-piracy option.
Yeah, the
Basically,
IPTVs that are out there who are taking official streams and restreaming them and then asking money for it. Especially for people in foreign countries. So if you want to watch like Russian news today, it's impossible because of the sanctions. However, there's so many pirated IPTV broadcast stations that for a couple of Bitcoin, well, not a couple of Bitcoin, for a couple of Bitcoin cents, you can have a monthly subscription, get access to all the images and all the channels that you wish. 300s of channels, but that's of course all pirated. It's piracy.
and the funny thing about this, right? Like we've been talking about this privately since it was announced. It's kind of a joke, right? They came out and said it, and then they're like, "Wait a second, we got to go talk to law enforcement about it." But they talk about the way that they want to do it, right? And they want it to be completely transparent. They want to actually talk about and designate the IP range, as if criminals do not know how to filter and block. It's really funny because like this option is great. Okay, we're going to launch DDoS
If
attacks
only the
against.
criminals were as transparent and told us which IPs they're gonna use to attack a customer. That would have been much more fairer, you know? That's
Yeah,
transparency.
exactly.
Yeah.
You give us the Maris IP range, we'll give you Hungarian's IP
Yeah.
range, and everybody can block everybody, and DDoS won't be a problem anymore, right?
Yeah.
We won't be talking about it next year. It's an interesting idea. I won't
Yeah.
say completely no to it. I know
It's something that
Pascal
people,
might say no
yeah.
to it.
Yeah, but people would not think about this like a year ago in my belief. It's only because of everything that happened already with DDoS that now people start think, so hey, I have a great idea. How about we take out all those pirates by just blocking and degrading their service? We just DDoS. And
Yeah.
how do you degrade their service? Well, you DDoS them. It's easy. You just need to find out the IP. Bang, done.
And it's interesting because like we're going to come back to this topic in a few slides about ransomware. And there's a joke about like, hey, it's not going to work, but it is working with the ransomware groups in a weird way. But as I said, we'll talk about that later. Chinese attribution. So the Chinese tried to attribute. I think everybody in the InfoSec community had a nice little LOL at this one. They really didn't get into too much detail, getting specifically into attribution, but they did go so far as to say that NSA TAO was carrying out tens of thousands of attacks on domestic networks. 13 NSA TAO employees have directly launched attacks against China. I kind of laughed at that because it didn't get in detail. We like to
Yeah.
actually talk about the names of the
The
Chinese
timing
threat
was also
actors.
perfect, right? It came right
Yeah,
after
exactly.
something came out from China doing attacks, so it's like, okay.
And the common theme of this month is it was distributed via Trojan for an information stealer. So yeah, we normally like to talk about DDoS, but this month has been a prime example about how initial access and credential access can actually lead to massive security
I'm gonna make
breaches.
a scoreboard for the next episode where we keep track of how many times info leak, how many times DDoS, and how many times interesting was
Yeah,
mentioned.
I was gonna say everybody out there that's drinking Red Bull, taking a shot of Red Bull every time I say it, you're probably gonna have wings by now. So this is I laughed at this when I saw this. So China is banning Teslas at government facilities for obvious reasons. If you have a Tesla, these things record 24/7, all different angles. I mean, you can catch the weirdest things. You can catch people keying their car when you're not there. It's very strange. But so the Chinese government has decided to put up these signs everywhere that says Tesla vehicles aren't allowed. And I made the joke to Pascal a few days ago, like, hey, why don't you send me to China and I will go document where all the Chinese secure facilities are based on the new signs they put up, because obviously that's where they're going to be.
Interesting.
And I
Yeah.
thought about it'd be funny to throw this at guy from TikTok. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Looks exactly like Elon Musk. Speaks broken English. He's Chinese. Drives around in Tesla. Absolutely hilarious. But I guess he's not going to government facilities anytime soon.
Well, yeah, he can, but he needs to leave the car outside. He has
Oh,
to walk in.
I would love to see like Chinese security see this guy walk up, because like you look at the guy and he looks
Yeah,
like
he looks
Elon
like.
Musk, dude. If I saw this guy walking up to the Radware building, I'd probably start telling you like, "Yo, dude, Elon's here."
Well,
You know,
technically, Their thing is not saying that Elon is not allowed. Elon is allowed, but Teslas are not allowed.
I'm sure they know who Elon is, and they'd be very nervous if he jumped that little fence there. I'm
He
sure many
probably
people
would
would come
do
up
it.
and
Yeah, he probably would do
yeah.
it. Just to annoy them, to make them nervous.
Yeah, it'd be funny if he starts doing his TikTok videos in front of these signs and everything now with his Tesla vehicles.
But
Oh
it's
man,
the first
good.
time that cars are not allowed, right?
Yeah, pretty remarkable situation there in China with Teslas.
Yeah,
As I said, if it,
it's getting difficult to drive a car because in certain cities no diesels are allowed, in other cities no petrol cars are allowed, only electric cars are allowed. Now there's no Teslas allowed. So which car do you need to have? So you can drive into the city with your Tesla. However, if you need to go to a government facility, you cannot go with your Tesla anymore because you're not allowed with your Tesla inside. So
scooter gang, dude, just ride a scooter everywhere. They haven't banned those things yet.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
getting into botnets and all that fun stuff. Really not too notable, but I figured that we'd talk about it. Moobot is one of the more popular botnets. It's been around for quite a long time, and it's actually targeted D-Link remote or routers with remote command injections for quite some time. The thing that's more notable about this is that the threat actors are very quick about weaponizing new exploits. So there's two new exploits related to D-Link. These were RCEs, as I said. Yeah, just things to consider out there when it comes down to botnets. They're very the botnet operators are very quick to leverage CVEs as they come out, and that's something that we've seen time and time again over the years.
Yeah, I have to correct you there, Daniel, about Moobot being one of the more popular botnets because I read a report from our competing colleagues last night, and those who are them, they will know who they are. Moobot is not there. Who's there is Maris and Divinis.
I mean, I would say that Moobot's something that we've covered multiple times on TRL.
But
I think
they,
we've covered at least a
to
half
give them
dozen
credit,
times.
they also talked about Mirai. So I would guess that Moobot falls under Mirai, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is not the case for Chaos. Chaos doesn't fall under Mirai. That's written in Go. Yeah, you know
It's like
that.
with a replacement to kanji, I think they were saying.
Yeah, exactly. It also says in the slide somewhere,
Yeah,
Kaiji. Yeah, the evolution of it.
evolution of
Yeah,
kanji. Yeah.
an evolution of Kaiji DDoS, but now also with payload for crypto mining again. So why do they keep insisting on crypto mining?
HODL, man. Yeah, if you believe in crypto, you're still buying, right?
Guess they didn't find anything else yet. They're just
uh,
looking.
the
Info stealers. Where's the info stealer in this one, by the way? That's much more productive. However, when you're on the server, info stealer does not help really, does it? So if you do info stealing, you might be targeting clients. Although that this one, yeah, it's written in Go. So as you know, Go, you can build it for several platforms. So it also supports Windows. So the same executable, you just build it for Windows, you build it for Linux and targeting different architectures of Linux from x86 up to ARM, different ARM processors and architectures so that you can send that same bot to servers, IoT devices, routers, infect whatever you need to infect. It before the Kaiji was only using SSS, SSH, SSS. Crap. We need to cut that section here.
well, I mean, there's the SSSCIP. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Save that one. Uh, SSH brute force attacks. Now they also added some CVEs, an older one from Huawei, some Zixel ones. So nothing too specific, nothing too special for that kind of botnet in terms of TTPs. Um, and yeah, so they were the interesting part is that Black Lotus, so Lumen Black Lotus is the one who discovered and dubbed the name Chaos, but they also built a simulation bot that tied into their command and control communication so that they could keep track of who they are targeting and who they are attacking. So they mostly saw DDoS activity, and again, DDoS attacks targeting gaming, financial services, technology, media, entertainment industry. So there's not one specific vertical that stands out, but also DDoS as service providers themselves and cryptocurrency exchange, at least one cryptocurrency exchange. So nothing out of the ordinary, but it shows that DDoS is still happening outside of the confines of cyberwar and activists that are out there.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, I think the cyber war has spurred more hacktivism outside of the cyber conflict as well. So, you know, that's something that we've seen as far as an increase in attacks in other countries that hacktivism has been spurred through the war. I think hacktivists are definitely back to the threat landscape because of the attention.
Oh, more prominent than ever, I think.
Yeah.
Are you okay with your mouse there?
Me?
Yeah, I see you going all over the place. Sorry.
Oh, with my mouse. I thought you
Yeah.
said mouth. I was like,
No, mouse.
Did I say something wrong? I was gonna say before we leave the botnet subject, we got a request here. We're gonna talk about Nexus's huge collection next month. That's what we should definitely do.
Want my huge collection? Okay, Nexus, you come on the show next month. Come and show your collection. Okay.
It'd actually be kind of fun. We should do that. Hit us up on side channels and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. You show me yours, I show you mine. Okay.
That's funny. So on to other DDoS attacks. So we like to talk about gaming. The last 2 months, it was Final Fantasy that was seeing severe attacks. This month it's Blizzard. So Blizzard saw a couple DDoS attacks bringing down Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch. They were targeting the authentication server. So this is very popular target for gaming sectors. It prevents, of course, users from being able to log in, also takes them off. The attack was about 3 hours and 30 minutes, and no one claimed the attack, which is kind of strange. You know, years ago, these attacks would happen and immediately Lizard Squad or any of the other groups out there would immediately be claiming these attacks and bragging about it, trying to advertise their attack service if they had one. Now a lot of these DDoS attacks are going unclaimed, which is good OPSEC for the criminals. Bad for the researchers because it was so easy back in the day. Just go on Twitter, be like, "Oh, who claimed it?" And of course, they'd have screenshots of them launching the attack and everything else. So
wouldn't be the first time that a credential stuffing or brute force attack is labeled as a DDoS attack.
Yeah, exactly.
If you would go look deeper into the packets, maybe you would see that they're trying to actually crack accounts or get access, do some credential stuffing on those servers.
Yeah, exactly. When you see the authentication server targeted, it's very possible they could be a credential stuffing attack, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit later.
They are so aggressive that they feel like a DDoS attack. Servers are getting difficult time to stay alive because they're just bashing so hard and so fast.
Only if the criminals would understand rate limiting, but no.
Yeah. keep calm. Don't be nervous.
Exactly.
If you can do it in 2 weeks, it's also good, you know? If you want to steal something important, you don't have to do it in 1 hour. So 2K Games, yeah. So their help desk was hacked and was leveraged by attackers to target players with, surprise, surprise, on the dashboard again, RedLine Info Stealer. So
it's a popular one.
Yeah, the attackers created fake support tickets and pushed out those support tickets to users that were registered in the 2K Games help desk, and then they sent them embedded links pointing to RedLine Stealer malware. As Daniel already said, RedLine Stealer infects the system, and then after what it does is just collect web browser history and cookies, save browser passwords. So once you're on a system, you can easily access all the browser passwords. That is something to remind yourself. Even if you have a password manager, if you click save your password in the browser, anyone who puts malware on your system can just exfiltrate all the passwords to that browser web page, right? So
and never use QWERTY1234 for your password vault.
Yeah, unless you're in France, because there it's a ZERTY. It's a complex password in a couple of countries. Only in French-speaking actually Dutch-speaking Belgium as well. My keyword is a QWERTY, so I would hack it easily, but. Some people have a ZERTY, so that might be difficult to get the right password. Credit cards, VPN credentials, everything that's on your system. Now, 2K is a subsidiary of Take-Two, not Two-Take. It's Take-Two Interactive, right? Not Two-Take.
To
It's a
take
typo.
interactive, yeah.
Two-Take or Take-Two? I think it's Take-Two.
I'm not a gamer, so I'm not sure, to be
Yeah,
honest.
doesn't matter.
You can
Something
go
in.
ask. Yeah, you can ask anybody but me on gaming
Yeah.
things.
And so is Rockstar Games. So let's go to the next slide. So yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted to actually show a lot of pictures on this one, but I wasn't
Ah,
allowed to because,
which one?
legal concerns about exposing threat actors. The kid is a teenager,
Oh,
but
this,
if you're
yeah.
familiar with him, there's tons of photos of him
White.
online, and yeah, you can. If you go to DocSpin, you can actually find a lot of this information. But it was a British teenager that ended up hacking Uber and Rockstar. So what ended up
Mark the word
happening
teapot
was,
here.
yes, yeah, mark the word teapot. The threat actor went by AK, Teapot, DDoS Shop, and White. He's the front man for Lapsus. A lot of people talk about how he's actually not talented or skilled. He's more or less the one that holds the lightning rod for the group. He likes the attention. Also, he does not know when to stop. He was arrested in December 2001,
Serial
April
convictions. Yeah.
2020. Yeah, April 2022 and September 2022, all on new charges, all on violating his breaching his bail.
He's
I mean,
going for a
this
new record here. So how many times can he be charged and in one
I
year? He still has
I
until
have no
December.
clue.
Come on. He can break that record. He can put the fourth time there. I'm sure.
I'm scared that he could probably get a fourth one before December and have 4 arrests in 365 days. I have no doubt he's probably already planning on
Yeah.
the next one.
Whoa.
So a little bit about the attacks here. This is where it gets sad and depressing as far as credential access, initial access goes. Is this British teenager went onto a website that sells initial access. So they're selling credential access. You can basically buy these packages that are related to people. And he found a user for an employee, contractor for Uber, and he continually sent MFA requests to this person until they had MFA fatigue, and they just said F it, and they accepted the
That's something new
MFA
that,
request.
yeah. So
Yeah,
you get event notification fatigue, so event fatigue when there's too many events coming at you. Now it's MFA fatigue. So the whole security world is turning around fatigue somehow.
yeah. So with the Uber situation, he was not actually able to get a lot of information from them as far as exfiltration goes. There was a
It
lot of
it was
publicity around it, though.
yeah. So they call it MFA fatigue, but I also remember somebody saying to me that he actually he got tired of it and he contacted support, but the guy was able to intercept that message to support, and he said that it's or he no, it's different. He sent an SMS message, "Hey, I'm from support. You're seeing a lot of MFA requests. It's normal. We're trying some new stuff and we're updating some modules. So if you want to get rid of it, just accept it and it will never come back." So it's actually quite it's an ingenious fish.
It really is. And so this threat actor not only targeted Uber, he also targeted Rockstar. Now, in the event of targeting Rockstar, he was way more successful. He actually leaked out GTA 6 map. I would love to post that up, but our YouTube channel would probably be taken down. But he also posted, I think it was 90 videos for GTA 6. So if you're into gaming and you understand a lot of these things, I don't. But as I understand that GTA 6 has been kind of like a secret. They haven't really want to talk about it. They've been
Well,
doing several
yeah,
updates to GTA 5, but
yeah.
people continually ask,
No,
when are you actually going to put out GTA?
people knew very well that GTA 6 was coming, but Rockstar always keeps undercover until they're ready to show something really great and interesting. But it actually give them more motivation, as I understand. So I understand that the devs are actually more motivated now, and they get positive feedback on whatever was leaked. So it had the opposite of a negative impact. It had a positive impact. That's what I understood from my time on YouTube.
I mean, I think it has somewhat of a positive impact because everybody in the community knows it. I mean, look at the old way that Apple used to market their iPhone. They would go to a tequila bar in San Francisco and leave it there at the bar in front of a journalist, and it would get covered. You sometimes have to be a little cynical and ask, like, was this the way you wanted to actually release GTA 6? Because it got so much attention. I
No,
mean,
no,
they
no, no,
pro.
no. I am pretty sure they didn't do it on purpose.
Oh, I'm sure they didn't do it on purpose either. I'm just bringing up a hypothetical situation of
Yeah,
like how a hack can actually benefit you if you market it the right way, right?
yeah.
it's
Uh,
it's all about marketing things in the right way.
we have a comment from Nexus. Have you heard that Edward Snowden got granted Russian citizenship? No, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised because becoming a citizen right now is not the best move you can make, I think. Unless you
I
want
was
to be
aware that he got
drafted.
citizenship. I was actually aware he got citizenship, and I think a lot of people that follow him knew that it was coming, considering that he was very pro-Russian with a lot of statements since the war kicked off.
Mhm.
Now the question is how active is he for the Russian government? Is he going to be cannon fodder out in the field, or is he going to be called up to
Well, he
some of
got
these
two
hacking
letters.
organizations?
Congratulations, you got your citizenship. And the second one is you have to present yourself in 2 weeks to this building to get drafted to go to war.
Yeah, tough one out there for him.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, but I guess he's definitely an enemy of the state now.
Oh,
uh,
we're
so
fighting.
on, yeah, on to the airplane prank. This was a funny one in my opinion. I guess the whole flight and airline community would
It's
probably
a
disagree.
mystery that's still
But
unresolved, right?
yeah, a user on TikTok that reposted on Twitter, uh, he posted up a video from his flight. It was an American Airlines flight from LA to Dallas. And some hacker, I'll just say hacker, got control of the intercom. And it wasn't just control the intercom while taxiing, it was control the intercom from taxi, takeoff, landing to the gate. This person was making some very obnoxious, annoying vomit like sounds. The pilot had a key come on over the intercom to make a comment. Flight attendants were going through saying it was just a prank. To me, it brings up a question of like how compromised is this airplane? Was this just a recording, or did someone actually have control of the intercom speaker remotely from another part of the world during this whole flight? A lot of it's unknown, but still a very interesting case.
Gremlins.
Yeah,
Gremlins. Yeah. You know, they are everywhere.
exactly. So going back to the teapot
The
reference joke.
QWERTY. Yeah.
So the Uber YouTube or Uber Rockstar hacker had an alias of Teapot. Now over here, the International Continental Hotel Group hack, the threat actors went by TP, which made it kind of confusing. But the hackers actually did an interview with BBC, and they told the BBC that they carried out the attack for fun. The couple was described as people from Vietnam. They accessed email, Teams, and server directories. The issue was that they tried to deploy ransomware. They failed. IT at IHG was able to detect the intrusion, and as they were trying to push the threat actor out of the network, the threat actor TP decided it would just be best to delete everything on the way out. So they dealt with a wiper style attack. It wasn't automated or anything. It's just people deleting files as they're kicked out of certain directories. But it was pretty devastating. It impacted booking and check-in service where people weren't able to actually do that for about 24 hours. But to my joke earlier, the threat actors social engineered an employee to downloading a malicious piece of software. They bypassed their multi-factor authentication, and their internal password vault used QWERTY1234. IHG denies the claims, uh, but I wouldn't
Hey,
say that it
they
was
they were
improbable.
using password manager. Best practice. Tick in a
Yeah,
box.
exactly. Exactly.
Is your
uh,
password longer than 6 characters? Yes, it is. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 characters. Tick in a box.
as as we were talking about this the other day, like anybody that's on a security team and sees a password like this and just lets it fly, they're just as responsible. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how many people
Especially for
would
an
have.
internal password vault. So all the passwords in there are probably 10 times as secure as the password protecting the vault. Come on.
Yeah, I just if you see this password in your system, stop everything you're doing and
Yeah.
raise a red flag
But
and change it. It's the simple things that count, right?
yeah,
It's really the simple things that count here.
but InterContinental denied the claim, so it's probably not true. Let's move on from
They
that.
denied it, but they also did a filing through the London Stock Exchange that they were compromised, that things were deleted. So the
Yeah, yeah,
hack
okay.
happened. It was more or less a
Yeah,
question of,
the
was your internal
squirty.
password
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
there?
They,
Yeah. So
it's denied. Oh yeah.
yeah,
So talking about breaches and info stealers,
more.
Optus, yeah, Optus breach that came out. I believe it was this week that it was announced, or that at least that it came to the public. So someone talking about this, and yeah, I have to give credit to Risky Biz for that one, and a shout out to Risky Biz for the great content. Go to our links page and follow their newsletter and podcast. This is really they have a ton of interesting information out there. So they called it Australia's Equifax moment. So Optus, which is the second largest telecom provider in Australia, lost about 11 million customer records, and they were offered on sale on the breach cybercrime forum. Although afterwards, the hacker, which calls himself Optus Data, or the account Optus Data, said that they deleted them. They said sorry to the 10,000 Australians whose data was leaked, but we will not leak the full batch of information. Now, the I would say it's not the interesting part, but the scary part is that that data was obtained through scraping an API endpoint that didn't care about authenticating users. So there was an API endpoint out there that gave access to a database including customer names, date of birth, phone numbers, emails. Some of those, so like 2.8 million of the records in that database had addresses, driver's license, or passport numbers, and that was accessible through an API endpoint that was not authenticated. So that means that anyone who found that API endpoint or knows that it exists can just go in there, make API calls, and scrape information out of it. Now, it was because of the scraping and the activity, again, the speed of which that information was scraped, that they saw a big volume going at that API endpoint. And that's how Optus detected that there was something wrong there. So they went and looked in and they detected that somebody was exfiltrating information and were able to stop it. But already they lost 11 million records. So the Australian Federal Police also launched a special operation only to identify Optus data. So the guy behind that breach, they're going after him with international cooperation, and they call it Operation Hurricane. So now it's going after the bad guy. But it shows again, don't, yeah. How is it possible that somebody leaves an authenticated endpoint? Yeah, maybe it was a dev that did some testing and then forgot to turn down security. It should not happen because there's sandboxes. You can use a sandbox for your development efforts and for your testing. Once you go in production, you should not do any testing and certainly not change the security restrictions. Whenever you, the cloud and API endpoint, it's like, you know, people don't think about it. They see a server, it sits in their data center. Okay, I can leave it unprotected. Okay, you're probably gonna get away with it as long as nobody can get into your perimeter and get access to that server. However, whenever you migrate an application to the internet, that's like taking that server that sat there protected in your perimeter in your data center, taking it, putting it out on the street, and letting everybody that walks by getting access to that server. So at some point, somebody will find it and somebody will compromise the data. It's unfortunate.
Another interesting thing about this case is that, as I understand, the threat actor has deleted the actual offering to sell the data.
Yeah,
Now, some
yeah,
data did
that's
get
what I
out,
said.
but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they're definitely
That,
feeling the pressure there.
yeah, that's the post that they made. So the image in the middle, the post of
Oh yeah.
so sorry to the 10,000 Australians who their data was leaked, but the rest we will not we took it offline, so we will not sell it.
Hashtag oops. When
Yeah.
you post too hard.
Yeah.
So getting into credential stuffing. So this is kind of like the main theme of this month's Threat Research Live. Credential access is a very huge issue, and a lot of that credential access is coming from credential stuffing. Credential stuffing, how they get the actual passwords and username for that, comes from a variety of different outlets, but mainly information stealers. So one thing that we want to cover is Okta was reporting that credential stuffing is now
Okta.
surpassing Okta is reporting that credential stuffing attacks surpass legitimate logins, right? And the problem is associated across multiple sites. So basically, these credential stuffing tools. So Sniper over here in the right-hand corner is a credential stuffing tool where threat actors can actually put in creds that they have purchased or stolen from a number of sites, and they can run it. Now, that's one of the things that we're talking about, is that sometimes these campaigns can produce so much traffic that they appear to be a DDoS attack and actually cause service degradation, which is a huge issue. But I want to get in a little bit more about like what actual info stealers are. So go. Two main info stealers out there I want to talk about is RedLine and Raccoon Stealer. Raccoon Stealer is sold on Russian forums, and it goes for about $150 a day or $275 a month for access to it. RedLine is also sold on forums. It goes for what? $100 for a monthly subscription or $200 for a standalone service. The issue with RedLine is that there's also many cracked versions across forums, so you not necessarily have to pay for it. But basically what this is it's an information stealer that is sent to victims via phishing attack. So mainly this can be through email. You won F1 tickets to Monaco next year. I'll click and open and download, of course. Other times it could be, as simple as, here are new cheats for Fortnite, and you download a package from YouTube that happens to have it. BEC and all kinds of other things as far as, well, not BEC, but business side, sending in Excel documents and things like that. It will be hidden inside. It's a malicious payload. Once it's deployed, these things mainly go after your autofill data. It goes through your cookies. It looks for your username and passwords for any site that you're logging into. And this is where things get a little creepy as far as like access to this, right? So this is a Darknet marketplace called Russian Market. And this is where a lot of this information ends up, specifically the Uber hack. The credentials were found on this specific Darknet marketplace. And a user can simply go on to this marketplace. They can select which stealer they want information from. They can actually search for domains, users, regions, and it's pretty damning. For about $10, you can buy a whole entire person's credential access set, and you can start logging into their accounts. It's called, valid compromised credentials. So these are credentials that were compromised, but they're still valid. They're unknown. And they can cause a lot of trouble. If you're a threat actor that's sitting on some skitty forum and want to target Uber or Rockstar or any other big name, you can literally just sit here looking for a perfect file and buy it for $10 and leverage the credentials, and
They're only
hopefully
sold for
MFA
one
fits it.
time, right?
Yeah, they're only sold for one time too, which is kind of an interesting part where you want to get into like paying to play, but also, not exactly funding threat actors. You could buy your company's records and take them off these marketplaces too. So, you wonder how like companies get cookies to sell to their clients. Well, this might be one of the ways that they actually get some of these compromised cookies, is going through and purchasing some of these records here. So moving on, that's kind of fun stuff.
Tattoo time. Okay, Daniel.
All right.
Show it.
Let me show All right, so LockBit drama.
You want to lose all our viewers? Come on, don't do that.
Might gain a few. You never know.
Yeah. Maybe the wrong type.
Yeah, exactly. So LockBit Sup, who is the spokesperson for LockBit, is on XSS, which used to be called Damage Labs, and they had this weird offering. Anybody that got the LockBit tattoo on them got $1,000, and they had to post a picture of them getting it and video of them trying to rub it off to prove that it was real. And several people out there appear to have actually got the LockBit tattoo on them. There's also drama on XSS whether people are being paid for these tattoos. There's speculation that LockBit Sup is not actually paying people that got these. Yeah, what a horrible story trying to explain that at the next DEF CON. Like, why do you have a LockBit tattoo? Well, It's a long story. But yeah, if you go on the XSS website, there's also exploit has his GitHub page full of these photos as well. Tons of people have done it. You know, common people do these things. You know, people in the day used to write lizard squad on their forehead with a Sharpie. I guess today we're writing LockBit and permanent ink on our forearm. Other interesting drama related to LockBit is LockBit had a bounty that they actually paid out. So a threat actor was able to decrypt one of their locked files, and you know, just make it short, LockBit ended up paying $50,000 to this threat actor for a bounty. So they're in the bounty business. And the third thing is LockBit apparently didn't pay their developer. So they had an angry developer leaking the LockBit 3.0 builder, which we've downloaded and verified, and it's going to cause a lot of problems in the community. As other people saying that, you know, with access to a builder that's not cracked, that's out there in the open, is going to open the floodgates for opportunist hackers that want to become,
And nation
you know,
states.
ransom. And nation state too. Blend in where you fit in. If you're Russia and you want to pretend you're LockBit, now's the time. So yeah, a lot of drama around there, but also some other drama affecting other ransomware operators. And this is what we were talking about as far as like Hungary's idea of DDoSing pirators offline. There is some validity to this idea, right? It's not exactly the perfect idea, but it does increase the cost of business. So
It's not
we talked
legal
about
yet.
this.
We still need to fix that legal part of it.
Yeah, we got to figure that out, but hopefully they legalize it so we can sell our own
I have
DDoS
to change
service.
my T-shirt. Make DDoS legal again.
Yeah.
Instead of DDoS is not a
No,
crime.
I used to have a hat. I can't wear it because it's out of fashion, but it was making fun of the Trump hat that said "Make America Great Again," but instead it said "Make DDoS Great Again."
Yeah.
Now, Anonymous loved that; they posted it tons of times, but can't wear that anymore. But I think someone is actually out there trying to make DDoS great again, and I support you on that. Last month we talked about this, how someone was launching a DDoS attack against LockBit after the Entrust hack, and you know they'd sent nasty message inside the DDoS payload that basically told them to delete the data. And now looking into this month, Bleeping Computer and Avid Intel report that someone was actually launching attacks against Cobalt Strike servers belonging to former Conti members. Now, remember earlier in this podcast or this live presentation, we talked about how former Conti members were joining UAC 0098 and retooling their techniques. Kind of wondering if these are still active for them or not. But anyways, the DDoS attack against the former Conti servers had anti-war messages. So basically telling Russia to stop the war and get out of Ukraine. Now, this isn't the only issues that have been plaguing ransomware operators. Alpha, LV, Hive, Everest, a number of other groups out there have all experienced service degradation over the last month. Now, it's not 100% positive if they're just changing and reconfiguring, or if they're actually seeing an attack. But it is something to talk about as far as in the past with Dread and other darknet sites that have experienced DDoS attacks and the complaint that comes from them, right? Most of these operators operate without any interference. This would be like saying a drug dealer could sell drugs out in the corner without the cops stopping them. A lot of people out there, or a few people out there, have suggested that we increase the operational cost of these threat actors by launching DDoS attacks against them, which is debatable, right? You are definitely causing issues with packets as they go across networks. You could cause indirect damage and indirect outages, but I think the general conversation of running up the cost of doing business to threat actors is something that we need to entertain, at the very least.
Yeah, they're gonna self-destruct. It's good.
Yeah.
Competitive.
Going on to other ransomware drama, Vice Society had an actual alert put out against them by CISA, which is American Cybersecurity Professionals. They are disproportionately targeting the education sector. And this is also a very lucrative target because of the amount of sensitive student data that exists on the network. Anyways, Vice Society just a few months ago or weeks ago launched a ransomware attack against Los Angeles Unified School District, which is the second largest school district in the United States. If you also go onto their Darknet leak site, you'll see most of their targets recently were schools. So you have Sierra College, Samuel Academy, SOAS, University in London. It's kind of sad to see this, and it shows that criminals sometimes don't have morals or ethics or, you know, a line in the sand not to cross, and that, you know, as more threat actors come into the landscape and things get more competitive between them, those lines are going to continue to disappear, and that what you would think was a sacred target that you shouldn't touch is going to become a very popular target, such as schools and hospitals. So going further
Well, it
into
might actually, they might make money. Remember, our last episode, we had the Dutch university who actually made money from it.
yeah, that is true. Yeah, they paid a ransom and they got their ransom back 3 years later, and it was
That was much
quite.
higher. Yeah.
Hopefully, they sold because of the price drop. You know,
Yeah, now it's
definitely. So schools have been heavily targeted over the last 2 months in the United States and also around the world. Seesaw saw a credential stuffing attack. So as we were talking about, as far as information stealers and markets that sell credential access and credential stuffing tools out there, Seesaw was definitely a victim of this because of the credential stuffing attack. Criminals were able to gain access to Seesaw's network, and they are able to send a very inappropriate image to users. So they used a bit.ly link shortening service. So people weren't necessarily able to see the link where it went to, but if they are on certain messaging platforms, the image would preload. I won't say what image it was, but it was a very popular inappropriate image that floats around the internet community. Seesaw claims that less than 0.5% of the users were impacted. But if you were going to Twitter, you would see that a lot of people were talking about this. So definitely not as small of an impact as they wanted it to be. Let's just put it that way. It was,
yet another credential stuffing attack.
yeah. And to other school attacks that are more into the physical realm of things, back to school swatting. Here in the United States, we've had a very depressing string of school shootings. And threat actors are taking advantage of this. So in Colorado, Kansas, Ohio, and Texas, there's been a number of schools swatted. I mean, multiple schools in each state. In the top right corner, you can actually see one of the swatting calls from the police cruiser. The bottom right corner is actually the police responding to the Harris County swatting event. The other one, I believe, is over in Kansas. But basically, swatting is the act of calling in a false report. So threat actors will call into the local police department and tell them that multiple people were shot. There's a gunman moving around. Basically, it puts the police department in a position where the only option is to send the SWAT team in. And so, of course, you'll see the heavily militarized tanks and heavily armed police officers coming into the school, and they have to check every room. So, you know, school has to be shut down, locked down. Police have to go through every room with their weapons drawn, checking underneath the desk, making sure no one's hiding in closets, and seriously disrupting class and class time, which is very unfortunate and sad to see threat actors are actually leveraging a sadder side of school shootings to their advantage of causing chaos without school shooting.
Probably a different kind of threat actor than those after the money, right? Thrill seekers. Trolls.
The thrill seekers, yeah. It's kind of sad.
Or school kids themselves.
Yeah. It's usually school kids and minors that do it anyway, so.
Yeah. On to...
Back in the days, we used to dig holes in the dirt. I don't know about these new kids, but, you know, we built bike jumps and things, and these ones start fights and swat each other.
Well, yeah, there's no more dirt. It's all street. You have to find something else to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if we had internet, who knows what we were doing then. So yeah, Node Packet Manager. So again, yeah, software supply chain compromise. It has to come back every month. I'm making it a sport actually to find one every month.
the Pascal segment with NMP packages.
Yeah. NPM, yeah, not NMP. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, NPM. Dyslexic. Sorry.
No, it's the Node Packet Manager. So Node.js is the JavaScript. So Node, like the language where you can compile JavaScript into a native binary that you can run on your system. That's the Node language. So, and there's of course a thriving community behind Node, and that community serves itself through modules. Modules you can easily access with the Node Packet Manager, which gives you an interface, and you just type in the name of the module. Automatically it downloads, it upgrades. If you type in a typo, might be that you get hit by a wrong module. Now, in this case, it was not a typo. one of the packages that was maintained by a crypto exchange, and the crypto exchange name is DYDX. I don't know the crypto exchange, but some mathematics there. DYDX. And used by at least 44 different cryptocurrency projects. So they apparently it's not clear how, but the DYDX maintainer was compromised, and there was some code added. And yeah, surprise, surprise, what was the code doing? It was an info stealer. So that code was added to the modules, and everybody who updated the modules or leveraged the modules and compiled them into their program, which were at least 44 different cryptocurrency projects, got this module in. And what the module did was exfiltrating AWS identity and authorization credentials. So typically the things that you put in the environment, SSH keys who are easily accessible in the .ssh directory on your home GitHub token. So whatever is in the environment, whatever can be stolen and can be abused to get access to your cloud environment. And those were sent to a API.CircleCDN, so a fake CircleCDN domain. That's how they exfiltrated the data, and were not caught until they were caught. This was reported by Bleeping. Just be on the watch out. So compromised developers it's not only typo squatting, but also compromising developers. And then another one, 39,000 unauthenticated Redis instances out there exposed on the internet. It's a nice map again. Hajime vibes all over. A lot in Europe, a lot on the east coast of America. So what is Redis? Redis is, for those who know Memcache, Memcached, remember the attacks on Memcached? So Memcache is like a caching store that allows key values to be stored into memory, very fast memory database that typically are used for caching in backends of web servers. Redis is pretty much the same key value store, but also contains like a component of MQTT where you have publish subscribe services, PubSub. It's fairly popular for sharing information across different modules. If you want to have shared keys somewhere between different servers, Redis would be the perfect solution for that. Also caching like Memcached. And exactly like Memcached, and when you read the Redis documentation, it said that Redis is designed to be accessed by trusted clients inside trusted environments. So it was never meant to be published on the internet. So yeah, so and of course it does get published on the internet, same as we saw with Memcached. So it's like, well, it's a deja vu. Like I cannot imagine. It's exactly the same thing, except that Memcached was leveraged for DDoS. Here there is an unauthorized access that's already documented since September 2018 that somebody was trying to use to drop crypto miners and to put them into cron tap and have them automatically persist whenever a system reboots. So again, crypto mining. Why, oh why, crypto mining? Now, at least Redis took up this problem, and starting version 3, they addressed the problem of passwordless servers that are exposed on the internet by running in some kind of protected mode. So if they are in the default configuration, they will start to run in some kind of protected mode, so that this cannot happen at least. But yeah, it's another story of we already been there, done that. Let's do it again,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It's the way of the threat landscape, right? If it's not one thing, it's another.
If you be there long enough, everything comes back. I can reuse the same slides as I used before. Just need to search and replace Memcached by Redis now, and I'm done. I have a new presentation to submit.
That easy. Talking about coming back here, kind of like jokingly covered this on a TRL a few months ago about how a heat wave in London knocked out Oracle's cloud services. So the data center was not able to be cooled off, and as a result, the servers went offline. Well, here we are again. Twitter lost its key data center because of an extreme heat wave that happened in California. And September 5th, they lost their Sacramento data center to a heat emergency, energy emergency that resulted in the downing of their data center. Now, Atlanta and Portland's data center stayed online, so no users were impacted. But Twitter did say if they lost 2 of the 3, that Twitter would likely go offline and have a hard time coming back online. And as I said, this follows the Oracle data center going offline in July due to extreme heat. So this, I guess this is actually turning into a real threat. Like, how do you mitigate the sun? How do you mitigate heat? We talk about mitigating DDoS attacks all the time, but this is actually turning into a service degradation issue for data centers as well.
Yeah,
So.
cooling was an issue. Now energy becomes more of an issue.
And especially now,
Maybe
it's
that
getting a little
cloud wasn't
crazy.
a good idea after all. Let's go back to let's all host
Yeah,
our servers at home and just
it's it's kind of like
distribute the
California
load.
saying that everybody has to drive electric cars, but the week later they say they have an energy crisis and people can't use electricity. It's strange. I always look at this as like the weird meme about, like shipping companies that used to work by wind that went to engines and now they're all talking about going back to wind. Things were fine in the days. And we got a little too creative bolting things onto things. Maybe we need to go back to the basics. Speaking about going back to the basics, I in Denver did not experience this because I am very basic. I don't have a smart thermostat. But here in Denver this month,
You're
22,000
not
people
basic,
were
you're
lost.
just smart. Smart people don't do smart.
So 22,000 people in Colorado lost control of their thermostats in their home. They're locked out because of an energy emergency. We had a heat wave here as well in Colorado. Normally, these XL customers can bypass the lockout. So it gives you an option to saying, hey, I want to contribute to damaging the earth, give me my AC back. This time they were not allowed to, and customers vented like crazy. I mean, homes went up to about 90 degrees. Some people were reporting on Twitter because they were not actually able to turn on the AC or to control their thermostat. But Excel was quick to come out and remind everybody that they actually signed up for this. So you want to talk about disaster of IoT, not reading the fine print and everything else. It's a program called AC Rewards here in Colorado. The program gives you a $100 credit against your bill, and also they pay you $25 a year to have this service and for them to be able to save energy during an emergency energy emergency. I can say that this is probably going to result in a lot of people not signing up for AC rewards in the future. This actually might
Well,
result
yeah.
in some people removing themselves from the service. So
Should they
while it
have
was a great idea,
should they have enrolled in the first place? Probably not. If you don't want anybody outside of your house controlling your thermostat, probably not a good idea to enroll in this, right? They basically
yeah, but
tell you.
that's a common issue with IoT devices that we've talked about multiple times. Though, is like the convenience for security, privacy, and everything else is switched, right? Because you want something that's convenient, you want something that's going to save you money, you want something that's going to pay you back,
Mhm.
right? Which has a mini selling point. Oh, $100 free a year. Why not? Well, because in the middle of summer you might have a day where you can't control your thermostat, and that $100 you'll likely have been willing to give them to cool your house. So definitely something to look forward to as far as like the energy crisis, how Teslas and IoT devices are going to be impacted
What
by this.
what else is there that we subscribe to without knowing?
So many things, so many things. So
Start to
going
wonder.
into a little bit more of a violent side here, if you know me, I've been talking about this for a long time. That the cyber industry uh, has been very
Yeah,
soft for a long
if you're
time,
a
and it's about to get.
sensible watcher or sensitive watcher, better to go now.
Yeah. So
Not.
I've been saying this for a long time in the industry that it's going to get violent. That people in this industry go out there and they stop criminals, and normal street criminals kill people over these things, and there should really be no exchange when it comes down to cyber. What ended up happening in Cambodia is that the authorities discovered 130 Chinese immigrants, 11 people from Vietnam that were being held captive in forced labor camps. So there's cyber slavery. It's a weird term, cyber slavery in Cambodia. And 10 to 20 cyber slaves can make about $1 million for the syndicate with fake profiles. So they're running, romance scams and other lucrative type of scams that
What
involve cryptocurrency.
what could
Uh,
lure cyber people? Romance, yeah, of course.
yeah, so everybody, I yeah, there's several people in the community that would fall for that. Of course, no one's immune to being tricked by very sophisticated lures that specifically target them. The sad part about this is that the traffickers are offering $17,000 per high-end victim and $8,000 for normal cyber victims. So, if you're a cybersecurity researcher and you're going to Cambodia, you might actually have a $17,000 bounty on your head by a local gang member to kidnap you and deliver you to this cyber slavery unit. Uh,
And then you
very,
can
very
work for them.
concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always used to make the joke about like going and working with ransomware groups and criminals that would offer to buy me a Lamborghini, but like this is now taking the joke to
Yeah.
a whole new
Yeah,
level where this is
they are
serious.
creative. Like,
Yeah, they
you
won't
can.
give you the Lamborghini; they'll hold you
No.
hostage with a gun to your head. Like
Fir-
it's
First you had child slavery, and now it's security expert slavery. Come on.
especially in Cambodia, it's a
Yeah.
disaster.
I'm
And this is moving on
I'm
to the
getting off.
second.
I'm getting Cambodia off the list of vacation destinations here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And this is the other violent side. So, a hacker was abducted by a cyber rival gang. This Florida teenager was beaten severely. I censored his photo.
Yeah.
The photo came from Krebs on Security, but he was a known SIM swapper. His name was Foreshadow. He was taken captive by a rival gang that was reportedly from Australia that hired people to come take his life. And so he was held at ransom for $200,000. He was rumored to have died from a gunshot wound, but he was actually shot, survived, and he is now in federal custody. But this just highlights the growing trend of violence as a service. So cyber criminals are now hiring physical goons to go beat up, shoot, murder, harm other cyber criminals. And it's only a matter of time before these cyber criminals start targeting legitimate researchers. So, as I normally tell people, be careful. Have your head on a swivel. So, out of the depressing news, into the last little segment we like to cover is
Everybody's
raids and
silent. Yeah.
arrests. Yeah. WT1SHOP was seized. So this was kind of like a Russian marketplace that I showed you earlier. It was a website that people could go to and buy private information, so driver's license, passports, login credentials, banking account information, credit cards, all the same stuff that you could buy on Russian marketplace. This was a 36-year-old man from Moldova that was arrested by Portuguese authorities. He wasn't arrested. I'm sorry. The sites were seized. They served over 100,000 users. There was 94 sellers on the website and 2 admins. So that website's down. Another popular website that they're going to is Too Easy, which is a very, very popular website to buy PII from. There's also a Russian marketplace as well. In other news here, Catlin from Risky Business or Risky Biz News covered this story, which is kind of interesting. We talked about this before in other Threat Research Live. The RSOC admin was actually arrested in May, a month before the FBI and DOJ took down RSOCKS and raided them. So at the moment, this gentleman he was arrested in Bulgaria on vacation, is going to actually be extradited to the United States to face charges. So in the next coming months, he'll be over here in court.
Crossing Bulgaria from my list of vacation destinations.
Yeah, only NATO safe places, bro.
My list is getting small.
Yeah.
Stay home. Okay, so that was like the last entry is stay where you are. Don't move.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I think that's our last slide or almost very close to
No,
it.
this is we're close to the end here.
Yeah.
Ukrainian SSU, so they went out and they arrested a group that was selling 30 million accounts. So once again, credential access and all that other fun stuff.
Last month also they were there. Remember, it was that with all the phones that they took, the bots who were actual physical phones.
I have to give it to SSU. They have been raiding and arresting as if their independence relied on it. They are really tackling cybercrime inside the country.
And it does rely on it because this guy was selling accounts to pro-Kremlin propagandists, so they leveraged those phone numbers to send propaganda to all those identities that were stolen.
Exactly. And moving into the last raid and arrest, I guess this is kind of a book closing moment here for some people. The Kaseya hacker admitted guilt in U.S. court. So the Ukrainian hacker that was extradited to the United States, that was a member of ReEvil, actually admitted last month that he was guilty in court, signed off on it, and now he's off in jail. So good riddance, right? No more cybercrime, no more problems.
Until he gets out.
Yeah, exactly.
Or his brothers pick up his business.
Yeah.
What was he, by the way? Was he a core member of our evil or
He was affiliate. I'm not sure exactly
an
his
affiliate?
membership
Yeah.
level. Yeah. But he was the one that was
You
responsible, I
didn't check
believe,
his
for
membership
initial.
card, no? Silver, gold, bronze.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think his platinum status was for evil, but I'm
okay.
not sure. He definitely has status now that he's in jail.
Yeah.
Bragging rights and all that stuff. He's got internet cred
Yeah.
going for him.
Question is, who did he rat out?
That's always the question, isn't it? So
You might see
yeah.
some follow-ups there.
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, just want to thank everybody for joining this month. A fun one.
Yeah, we tried to make it a short one, but yeah, failed. Miserably failed again.
Yeah, we're trying to shoot for an hour. We got 2 hours. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, well, once the landscape starts slowing down, we will get there. But that's as
Oh,
long
don't
as they
say
keep
that.
growing.
We're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna be at 3 hours next month.
Okay, well, thank you all for
365,
joining
24/7.
us. Yeah, I see quite some people who joined us, so I'm
Yeah.
happy to see that you were here with us. If you have any questions, you know how to reach us, or through the comments here, or through one of the channels that we put up. References are out there. So next month we will be back. Until then, thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Take care,
Bye,
Nexus. Later.
Nexus. Later. Bye bye.